Hello and welcome back to Crizzy Books. I'm Crizzy or Criz,
but only my homeboys call me Criz.
And today I'm going to be doing a review for The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. The Exorcist follows the horrific ordeal of Regan McNeil, who is an 11-year-old girl who becomes possessed by a demon. And what begins as some really weird, wild stuff, strange noises, sudden mood swings, an imaginary friend. It escalates into violent outbursts, supernatural phenomena, bodily deterioration, and a seemingly split personality. Her mother, Chris McNeil, who we primarily experience this story through, she tries desperately as she's trying to figure out what is wrong with her daughter, seeking out medical doctors, psychiatrists, endless amounts of specialists, just to figure out what the hell's going on. But nothing seems to help, and finally she reaches out to a Catholic priest, Father Damien Karras. Karras is our other semi-main character that we experience the story through. He's suffering his own crisis of faith throughout this whole ordeal and is desperately trying to debunk what's happening to Regan. But with so much mounting evidence, Father Karras has to eventually come to the realization that Regan is truly possessed, and he needs to intervene. The Exorcist is widely considered to be one of the greatest classic horror novels ever written, and I think it's pretty obvious why. The way that Blatty blends psychological with supernatural horror in a way that makes the book feel disturbingly realistic and really grounded. The slow escalation of Regan's possession, it only adds to the tension and the hopelessness of the whole situation. And Chris's desperation, trying to find anybody who might be able to help. And then as a last-ditch effort, just turning to the spiritual side. But this is like such an unbelievable thing, dripped in superstition and old folklore and gobbledygook that even the church is like, we don't really do that anymore. Are you sure she's not just like schizophrenic or something? Almost in a way of trying to shrug it off, blow her off and be like, no, probably not. The book has many different themes and really shown through its many characters. I'd say the primary ones are things like grief, faith or the loss of faith, guilt. It's all very based in religion, of course. And the story isn't just about Chris and Father Karras and Regan's possession. There's a lot of other side characters with subplots that are running throughout it, and all of them are very interesting. I felt that a lot of the characters, especially Karras and Chris, were really well fleshed out. They felt really relatable in their emotions and their actions. They just, again, adding to that realistic, grounded feeling of this book. These characters all felt like very, very real people, with real responses to insane situations. In the book itself, it can feel really slow at times, but the horror just comes on. It's like blunt force trauma. It just smacks you over the head with something so extreme and disturbing that it's like, whoa, I guess that's what we were building up to here. It's super raw, it's really effective, really believable. That whole layer of religion and Christianity and this whole spiritual element to it, it really does make it feel a little more unique. I was really drawn to that aspect of it, actually, of involving the church and this holy man to try and purge this demon. All of these things about religion are actually, part of a bigger thing outside of our human, mortal bodies. There's something else going on somewhere else. Blatty's writing also very, very descriptive. I feel like he sets the stage of every scene. It's so vivid. You can really see everything that's going on. The only real drawback to this book for me was its pace. As I mentioned, it can be very slow at times. Sometimes a little too slow. Just meandering, get really dry. A lot of times something really exciting or disturbing will happen, and then we quickly find ourselves back in the room with the priest, where he just continues to deny reality, doing research. There didn't really feel to be a sense of urgency. with Father Karras and him trying to figure out what is going on to confirm or deny whether or not Regan is actually possessed by a demon. And I think it did that too often to where it becomes a hindrance. On top of that, I also did feel like the ending was maybe a little rush compared to the rest of the book. Those are all of my main thoughts. If you want to see my final review for The Exorcist, you can skip ahead. I'll have a timestamp down below. But for now, I want to get into spoiler talk. So if you plan on reading this, you don't want to be spoiled, now's your time to go. Okay, the main character of the book, Chris McNeil, Regan's mom. We follow her for most of this book. And in the beginning, we find out that she's this successful actress. This takes place in D.C. She's filming a movie there. And, we kind of follow her as she's on set and also socializing. She's a bit of a socialite. And so she has like dinner parties where all of these, somewhat important people come over to her house. But I was pretty drawn in by all of this. And I think that is one of the things that the book does really well, is setting up this, woman of a higher status, her and her daughter. She has money, she has access, and then all of a sudden, this insane supernatural thing starts occurring with her daughter that causes her more and more to just mentally deteriorate. And it's this crazy thing that she has to deal with, and no one really believes what the hell is going on, even though it's right in front of their faces. That is really, really interesting. Like this disruption of a seemingly pretty good life and turning that whole life on its head. I think it makes for a great horror story. I talked about the side characters earlier. I think all of them were like pretty good and pretty well done on their own. I think Burke was probably my favorite, her director friend, just for how like loud and boisterous and drunk he could be, but he also made for like really funny and entertaining moments, berating people or just being a complete drunken asshole. I enjoyed reading him. And while the slowness was a hindrance sometimes, for the most part, it didn't really bother me. I think that the buildup is really good. We start with these noises in the ceiling and Regan's imaginary friend Captain Howdy, and her telling Chris that her bed is shaking at night, and then she starts saying crazy things and then pissing on the floor during the party that Chris throws. And it just gets crazier and crazier from there. I mean, some of the parts in this are truly like shocking. There's a part with the crucifix and she starts stabbing herself. The things that she says to people are just crazy, seemingly being able to puke on command, projectile vomiting onto people. The other thing that I didn't really like, I talked about the ending, it felt a little rushed. They bring in Father Merrin, who is easily the coolest character. And he has such a cool, like, kind of lore to him, or this, like, that there's something else going on here. He's clearly had to do this before, and we do encounter him at the very beginning. But when he finally shows up in the book, he's not there for very long. He dies off page. Then Karras dies shortly after that, and that's just kind of that. And the times that he was around were really cool and really special. He had a very, like, I don't know if it was confidence, but this feeling of like poise, of knowing what he's up against and knowing what he has to do and doing a great job of maintaining that. Whereas Karras is like faltering the whole time and giving in to what this demon wants him to do, listening to the demon, while Merrin's over here continuing on doing the ritual that he has to do. I liked that difference in both of them. Merrin was just cool. It's too bad that he wasn't around for very long. Overall, I would give The Exorcist a 4 out of 5. Incredibly solid, classic horror novel. It also spawned one of the greatest horror movies of all time. So it's got really solid writing, really solid characters. It's super grounded. It's got a lot of shocking, disturbing moments in it. Really great spiritual, religious angle to it that makes it feel more unique, at least to me. I haven't read a lot of stuff like that. But again, the pacing could be a little too slow. Myself, like many other people, saw the movie when I was young, scared the shit out of me. If you know the movie, haven't read the book, or want to read the book, understand they're very similar. Very, very similar. Like down to certain specific details that you wouldn't expect them to put in the movie, they did from the book. It's a very, very faithful, close adaptation. There are some slight deviations, but overall, it's very close. It's still very good, though. I think it's still worth reading the book to get the full context of the source. Check it out if you haven't read it already. But how about you? Have you read The Exorcist? What do you think of it? Let me know down in the comments below. If you're planning on buying The Exorcist to read for yourself, I have an Amazon affiliate link down below. If you click on that and buy the book, I get a small percentage back for sending you there. It's just a small way that you can help support me and support the channel. But I always like to say, go to the library, go to a local bookstore first. If you're on Goodreads or Fable, I am on both. You can follow me on there to see what I'm reading now, what I'm going to be reading, what I've read in the past, all of those good things. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and as always, thanks for watching. Bye.